done so much for the sport, coming from Torsten Holman, the racing career that he started way back when on motorcycles coming over from Sweden and adapting to the U.S. and getting on a motorcycle and just terrorizing everybody. He was actually the first Midwest AMA national champion, correct? Am I correct in saying that? First Carl?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so, I mean, they really didn't have anything going on back then, and then Carl came in and just, like, killed everybody. And it was just, he not only raced motocross, did a great job for Torsten Holman products and a bunch of other stuff, but he also had a really, really good racing career with Newman Haas. He drove their cars, he designed stuff, he just did a lot for that sport, and this guy's like been an all-around athlete. I can't say, there's so much more history I need to know from this gentleman, and I hope to learn it this year. But I'd like to bring up the next inductee to the Jack Morgan Hall of Fame, Carl Berggren.
Well, after all the things Scott and Eric and Olaf talked about it, I don't know what else to say. There's so much said. But it's funny how so many people. Well, first of all, I have to say I started racing in Sweden and raced for 11, 12 years over there, and then I quit racing. My last race was in England in 1966 in the fall, and then I sold everything, told my wife and kids that I will never ride again, and that was it. Then we moved over to the United States, came to Chicago, and a year later, that's when my second career, if you want to call it that, started, where I started to racing in the Midwest. And of course, after racing in the Midwest, I raced the Trans AMA series, and then I started working for Husqvarna in San Diego, and I raced out there. And one thing led to another, and I got out of the motocross and started riding the 6-day type events, and rode a lot of events with a good friend that's, I don't know if he's still here, Jack Penton, and raced with him the first time in Ohio when he was 14 years old, and then we raced many years together after that. Then I started, like Woody said, started Torsten Holman Racing in Elmhurst first, and after, I was still riding, but after that it got really busy, so I had to quit riding because there was not time enough to do both. I had to concentrate on building that business. But once I had that done, after 6-7 years, it started to working well. Then I got into my third career, and that was in car racing, which I shouldn't get into much here because this is not about car racing, but I raced cars myself at Elkhart Lake and what have you, and all over the country. And Formula Atlantic, which is an open-wheel car. And then after a severe accident up in Mosport in Canada, I had to stop it. And there was nothing left of that only car that I had, and I was pretty damaged too. So then I actually worked a little bit for Dave Antelak. Is Dave still here? There's Dave. For Dave and Karen. And had a good time doing that, but then all of a sudden I had a phone call from Newman Haas Racing. And Woody said earlier that I drove for Newman Haas Racing. No, I didn't. I wish I'd had. But we had more capable guys doing that. We had Mario Andretti and Nigel Mansell. And the years I was with them, we won 2 championships, which I'm very proud of, in 1991 with Michael Andretti, and in 1993 with Nigel Mansell. Then after that, I was asked by Kent Olin, who owns the founder and owner of Olin Shocks in Sweden. I've known him since he was a young mechanic at Husqvarna when I worked for Husqvarna in San Diego. And he pestered me for a couple of years to go to work for him and start up Olin's USA. So finally I agreed to that, and I think it was in 1995, 96, we started up Olin's, and I ran that until I retired in 2001. And then I moved to Florida, and since then I haven't been involved in racing at all, except I kept in touch with a lot of, actually, mostly the car racing guys, because that was the last part of that racing. My early racing in the United States, not too many remember me, and a lot of them are dead, obviously. And some people remember me, but the name was forgotten pretty much until my highly paid manager and PR agent, Scott Wallenberg, kind of brought my name up to the surface again. And that's how I think he put things in Woody's ears and so on. But I've been fortunate enough to work in motorsport all my life. It's been 2 wheels and 4 wheels, but it's just been a fun thing, and it's fun here now. Today I met many people here that I haven't seen for a long, long time, and Bob Welter, one, and Jack, of course, and so many people. But I also heard about some people here that the other guys talked about, like Chuck Gordon, like Eric Gore mentioned. I just actually heard from Chuck today. Chuck is a good friend, and he worked for me well, not for me, but for Hallman Racing that I ran for, I don't know, 2-3 years. And then I worked with Chuck at Dave's place at Tough. And so that's Chuck Gordon. And you mentioned, someone mentioned Jeff Fox. I think that was Eric Gore mentioned Jeff Fox. Jeff I raced with, but I've known Jeff in the industry, but I actually raced with Jeff at Elkhorn at the first Jack Hill Memorial in '69. He was, what Eric knows for sure, he lived here. I don't know if he went to school here or if he taught here, or I don't remember, but he lived in the area before he moved out to California. And he actually raced a little bit around here. And then there were some other names there that I heard that I haven't heard about for many years. But I just want to end it with that really, what I told Woody this before, but what he's doing is just unbelievable. It's I worked a lot with Jack Morgan way back when, back in the late 60s, early 70s, and with a lot of things. I mean, he wanted to But he had a vision, and he worked very, very hard, just like you are doing with, getting everyone together. Like he wanted to have a girls' team in motocross. So where he found these girls, I don't know, but there were four girls, and Bob Colello even has the names of them in a letter.
I don't have them with me though, Carl. We're in the car.
Oh, okay. And these were young girls, 18, 20 to 21 years old, and he wanted to have this team, so we as Hallman Racing, then we sponsored them with the clothing. I don't remember where Jack got the bikes, but he was just looking ahead all the time, and just like you're doing. And Bob Coelho and I talked about earlier here. He contacted me and wanted me to bring Torsten and what was it? It was Torsten and Arne Lindfors and Håkan Andersen. We went up to Crystal Lake to do a radio show. I don't know who had a radio show, Bob knows, but we went up to do that, and that was just to promote the motocross in the area. Then he or someone, was it Bob or Scott's dad, Wally maybe, involved, contacted Johnny Morris, if you remember Johnny Morris. He was a football player for the Bears, and then later a sportscaster. And so I brought Torsten Hallman down to Soldiers Field to meet Johnny Morris, and did an interview down on Soldiers Field. And at that time, I had no clue what football. I heard of football, but football to me back then was something you kicked, But anyway, I had heard about Johnny Morris, that he was a good football player. But then Johnny Morris is saying to Torsten and I that, you see that guy running up and down in the stands there? He was making sprints going up and then down and up, and they were filming him. And I said, I had no idea. It's Gale Sayers, he said. And this was in 1972, and from what I've heard later, that was the last thing he did before he retired, I guess. He was trying to come back or something. But that was Jack Morgan. They got the exposure. So that was on, what's it called? WBBM, is that what it is? Channel 2 in Chicago. That's where he was the sportscaster. And
his wife too.
Pardon?
His wife as well.
Yes, Jeannie Morris, yes. And that was a good thing for motocross. And so anyway, I said this to you before, Woody, that I liken you with Jack there because you have that same enthusiasm and just go right at it, So, and I thank you for letting me come here.
This is a living legend right here, right now.
Woody, Carl's not going to say it, but at one time he had a streak of 35 motos, 33 first places. And
Unbelievable. Like I said, this is a living legend right here. I'm honored you say that I resemble what Jack Morgan does. I don't know why I do what I do for this, but I know that Jack Morgan, I wish I would have met him, is behind me, pushing me to make this happen. It brings people together. It remembers stuff that was what our base of history came from. And, you know, people move on, you know, people pass away, history gets buried, and I just feel that it's my job, for whatever reason, I have no idea. It's my job to just make sure that we're not forgotten. I think, like I said earlier, that the Midwest got passed over, and some of the best people I've ever met in my life came from the Midwest.